started this talk just wanting to talk about friends, okay, and then it kind of deviated into um, my kingdom is not of this world because I was trying to make a connection in certain areas to make certain connections, and then that connection came up. My kingdom is not of this world. So, but the talk is about friends, okay? So, and yeah, I kind of feel weird about this one. I don't know what it is. It's kind of like, you've really got to, I have to anyway, just kind of like really include what myself in instead of just talking about other people because you don't grow that way, right? It's impossible because you're doing what everyone pretty much is doing then, which is just it's everyone else's fault. You know, they have a shared role in everything, other people, of course, right? So, but as an individual, if you're just going to look at what they've done and avoid looking at your own stuff, then you're not going to get anywhere with anything, right? And that's just the way it is. And that's there for a reason, of course, right? So, friends. Who needs friends? Okay. Uh, like everything becomes is very closely tied to there's natural friends, I guess, and then there's then do you need friends? Make the connection on with my kingdom is not of this world. If my kingdom were of this world, John 18:36, my servants would be fighting so that I would not be handed over to the Jews. But as it is, my kingdom is not of this realm. Right? So, uh, if you're in another world or you aspire to be in another world, do you need friends? And the answer that I answer from my own being, which is what this channel is about, is no. I only get lonely when I'm around people. If I'm around people too much, especially people that are talking nonsense, have the wrong values, have the wrong, they just have an empty void inside them and you can see it in their eyes. I'm going to go into a couple of stories here with this one. I might be a bit long, I don't know. But I'm not going to name names or anything as well, though. I'm going to tell a story about the negative, my side of it as well. My side of kind of like a negative story. Because, like I said, you can't be in this area of trying to be growing and growth if you're not going to look at yourself. That comes first. So this is a story. I remember years ago, um, there was a being, and I was in the car with this being, and up until this point, everything was going fine. So I was in the car with this being, and I was just driving out from my house, and I looked over, and a good time was had previous to this moment, right? So it was all good fun and all the rest of it. This is what I'm talking about acting performances and people putting on this acting performance, right? And it's sad because it's not something that it's kind of like, oh, fuck these people. No, it's sad, dude, that we've been programmed this way, that we're actors and we don't need to be, right? So I was backing out and I looked over at this being and I seen it was a split second. And what I seen in that split second was an absolute nothingness in this being's eyes, right? Because it's a stage performance. It's a stage performance. And obviously then this being took that out, which on myself later on, not too long after that. Right. So so it's very, very when you're dealing with human beings, friends and all that kind of stuff, you have to know that I learned the hard way is that kind of like life is a one man boat. You're on your own. It's spiritual development on your own. Right? And if people are going to walk with you, great. And if they're not, let them go. Now that's another story to do with. I'm going to segue into another story. I've always had an issue with attachment, being attached to someone who I care for or whatever, or drugged, whatever you want to call it, right? But that is an issue that I have, and I've worked on it a lot because I stay away from people a lot simply because. Let me see if this is still recording. Because of the problem of, pardon me, attachment, right? So, and it's to be attached to anyone is hell on earth because then they have power over you for a start. They will see this, and because of their void, they will exercise an amazing cruelty over you, right? And so you everything starts with your own being. You have to work on your own. What's going on within your own system that doesn't work for you? That's acting out, but you don't know how to get over it, right? So, okay. So you have to be very careful with that with attachment. You have to be in a flow state with anything. You have to let people go. You have to just say, like, if they say don't want anything to do with you anymore, then you have to let them go. I've always found this very, very hard. I think a lot of it comes, some of it comes as well from, um, well, I'm not really going to get into all of it, but I think a lot of it comes from kind of like, that now I understand that, that I don't mix with people that do no personal work because they will always, to a certain point as well, then if they're not going to join you in doing any kind of like personal development work and owning their own shit, then you have to say goodbye to them because they're going to drag you down. Like, I'm understanding even with what I'm doing right now, I can't, it's very, very difficult and you have to find a very particular human being that will leave you alone. Like, I have to be on my own to do all these things. I'm trying to understand this as well. Like, people take too much energy off you. They take too much attention off you. They want too much, and then you get drugged with them and all the rest of it. Like where I am right now, doing even these recordings and doing bits and pieces, I don't want to share my life with anyone, pretty much, unless it was someone that was really kind of like on a level that was beyond, consumerism and how does my arse look in the mirror. So it has to be that way, because it's going to take me away from doing these recordings. All right. So do we need friends? I don't need friends. I don't want them. Don't want them because what people talk about with friends, I'm going to segue now into another story. Like I said, I won't mention names, but they're important to try and get this point across. Like, this is another story to do with another being, and because I've never really had many friends, this being was putting me down because, oh, you don't have any friends. You don't have, no, it's a way of putting you down. Oh, look, there's something wrong with you because you haven't got any friends. And I'm like, all right, okay, all right. So like either you stand with me or you stand against me. I understand the wizard's words right there. So these people are enemies in your own camp. Like I said before, people that are close to you, you watch them closer than anybody else because they're the ones that can do the most damage. All right? And it's your own fault for getting involved with these cretins, so this being would do that, and this being then said to me, I have friends because now this being didn't know that she said this because people are not aware. But I heard it, right? And this being said, I have friends because one day I might be stuck and I might need someone. Right now, I heard that straight away. This being is not aware at all, zero, zilch, nothing. So I heard that and I just left it. I didn't say anything. I was like, oh, okay. So I wrote that down. Straight away, I wrote that down because I'm always doing inquiry into my own being and other people, right? So that's really what's going on behind the scenes. This being didn't know that she said that, but because they're unaware. But that's really what people want friends for. What if I'm stuck one day? What if I need something one day? You know, I'm afraid to be on my own, so I need friends around me. Kind of like, I may get stuck with this or that, and can I go to someone and can they help me? And kind of like, so this idea of friends is basically just using people and kind of like, having them there on standby, like useful idiots, just in case we might be stuck one day and we might need them. Or yeah, but they'll always trade you out with somebody else. If someone else can give them what they think that they need, which is a complete load of bullshit, they will get rid of you because they'll always blame you for everything that's going on because they're an empty void, right? The empty, soulless void, commercial, corporate man or woman, will always have to sell you out, always, and never look at themselves because they're completely indoctrinated into this world and they can't wait to tell you how right they are and they can't wait to tell you how much of a success they are when all you got to do is look into their empty corporate eyes and see nothing there. And they're going to have to suffer in the long run unless they start to make a start on what this channel is really about. Right, so that's really what comes down to. People are afraid to be on their own and they can't stand on their own. And like I said before in one of the other talks, last year, because I was very aware of what was going on within my own system, I spent so much time just sitting in the darkness to get used to, like the Bane character, in Batman, molded by the dark, just like nothing, just no outside stimulation, no friends, no nothing. All right, and then walking around on my own, stuff like that in the cold, and so this is not a depressing story, by the way. It's actually positive because afterwards, then you can start to understand what's going on, and you can stand on your own, and you can be on your own. Like I said, I'm only lonely around people. People make me lonely because go back to the statement. My kingdom is not of this world. There is another world outside of what we perceive. That's what the Christ figure was talking about. It's an internal world attached to a frequency, attached to the source. You can call that God. You can call it a higher connection, whatever you want to call it, but it is there. It is there, So, another small story then as well. People get attached to one another, and I've had to work on this a lot over the last while. That's why I like being on my own a good bit, a lot. Because I've never been happier, even to use that word. I don't like that word, or content, or whatever you want to call it, being on my own. It's just like, I don't want people around me, dude. Fuck these people. Fuck these people. They can go off and pretend to do their games with other people and lie to other people, obviously lying to themselves as well. But this story is interesting. Won't name names. I was doing something years ago, and I was saying to this guy, like, you're very attached to your wife, and I know you call it love and all the rest of it, but like, it stops you doing things. Like if we're doing something, or if we're doing something that's kind of like even something that like is a one-off, like it's a something that's kind of like awkward or hard, or like I need you here. Not I need you, but like we're doing something together. Just say for instance, and it's it's pivotal that you're here at this moment because we've put in so much time doing something. And he was asking his wife, and then he left in the middle of all of it. And I was like in distress because of this certain thing that was going on. I don't want to name names or anything like that, but so later on that night, I was having stress to do with what was going on, this work that we were doing. I'm not going to name anything because then it could name someone. I don't like doing that because it's not a good thing to do, right? And so I called him, and he was talking about this, and I said, "Look, I really need you here. I'm stuck. I'm in trouble here. Like things are not going good, and and we're doing this together, kind of thing. Well, we have been doing it together, and so." And he put his wife on the phone for me to talk to her, and it was basically an audition for me to convince her that it was okay for him to come back out. Now, this is what I'm talking about. This may seem like a little joke and like, oh, that's funny. That's very serious, dude. If you can't stand on your own and your life is not your own and you're saying it's because that I have a bond with this person, I have a, we love each other, we're married, it's just respect. No, it's not, dude. Okay? You're a fucking slave, you're attached, and you're calling it something else. Okay? Life is a one-man boat. You're on your fucking own. Period. And that's not a negative statement. It's a fucking positive statement. Okay? Because then you can start to work out, you enter here on your own, you're going to leave here on your own. Okay? Now, I've made a lot of mistakes with a lot of people that I've known over the years because of my own wrong wiring and wrong programming. So I don't even judge myself, whatever it is, myself, because it's just a wrong program, dude. We've been wired wrong and programmed. These motherfuckers, these elites through the media and stuff, they know exactly how to program us and exactly how we work, right? And it's not to our benefit. It's not to our benefit. So friends. Who needs friends? Having company, cool. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying that. But friends, who needs friends? People with half a brain don't need friends. I don't fucking need friends. They drag you down. They drag you down. And people have experienced this, I'm sure. I've cut out everyone out of my life. Everyone. Don't want to know anyone. Don't want to talk to anyone, pretty much. And I get on great with people now, a lot better than I ever did before, because I don't really want anything from any of them. And I can see them for what they are, which is, if you get too close to them, they will start nibbling at you. Right? So I spend a lot of time on my own, and I can't wait to be on my own. I'm like running for the fucking finish line. I've been on my own. Like, great. I can't wait. It's not a negative, right? So they're selling all this false friend shit because you don't know yourself. You think that you have good friends and all the rest. You're just afraid to be on your own, dude, and experiment with kind of like being on your own and seeing where that leads to. Where does it go? So when the Christed being said, "My kingdom is not of this world. If my kingdom were of this world, my servants, my friends, would be fighting so that I would not be handed over to the Jews." All right? And this group of people are still running things today. Isn't that kind of odd? But anyway, but as it is, my kingdom is not of this realm. Right? So anyway, that's interesting. Kind of segued into a religious, or kind of like the Christed beings words. And friends. Who needs friends? I don't need them. Don't want them. Company, but a companionship is nice. With people that are not trying to drain you. And are self-aware. And know what's going on even a tiny bit. These people are interesting. But these other people, like the being I experienced, like I was telling the story about in the car, and I looked over and there was just nothing. There was just a void. It was a split second, but it told me everything about this being, that what they're doing is going to end up in that void completely, and they're not going to know what to do. That being and millions of others. So get the fucking work, finding out what the fuck is going on within your own system, because if you don't, you're going to leave it too long, and you're not going to be able to fucking do anything about it. All right? And adios.